All right, I would like to call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will have our student do that so that I don't mess up again. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Linda.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Here.
Glenn Sarka,
Here.
James Hewitt,
Here.
Jennifer Cliff,
Here.
Jennifer Ray,
Here.
Cheryl Maddox Smith,
Here.
Jason Zadunik,
Here.
And I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I would move in an entertaining way to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Sarka, support by Mrs. Maddox Smith. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Cambenzi, and thank you all for joining us this evening. We have a couple guests, which I'm looking forward to hearing from. First, Miss Becky Lebrecht and Shires Planetarium, Friends of the Shires Planetarium. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you exactly why she's here. But Becky?
Do you want me to take that clicker? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I gave it to you.
Did you give it to me? I could have.
I think I did.
You might have done that. Could have went in the bag with all the other. Oh, it's right here. It's very conveniently located. Thank you. Yes, I am Becky Lebrecht, and I did teach all day, so. But I got this. But I'm here on behalf of the Shires Planetarium and the Friends of the Shires Planetarium to kind of loop you guys into some work that we've been doing. And so I have prepared just a few slides for you, and we just want to say thank you for allowing us to come speak to you today. Oops. Oh no. Can I do back too?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So the Shires Planetarium has been in operation for over 58 years. We opened in the spring of 1965, so right in line with when MSHS opened. And so we've been kind of a gem in the community for a very long time. In 2017, our digital projection system stopped working. So at that point, the picture that you see there shows our current star projector and our digital projector, which we used to use both in tandem to do programming. So people that came to the planetarium during those times would remember full dome movies paired with looking at night sky, that sort of thing. And so that stopped working in 2017 after about 14 years of service. So it definitely lived beyond its life expectancy. But since that time, we've had our Minolta MS8 star projector, which was purchased in 1992. And we're using that for educational purposes as much as we can, but it has been quite difficult keeping that machine kind of going. And so we use it as much as possible. And then in 2019, we installed a laser system that we paid for with revenue from doing laser shows from a rented system. And that's been a huge growth spot for the planetarium. It honestly saved our planetarium, kept us going with a lot of programming for the community. It gave us a new venue for us to be able to kind of grow and expand some things. And we actually have students now that are creating laser shows. We're the only high school that we know of in the country who's doing that. And so it's very high-tech stuff. We just went to a conference, and honestly, people were blown away with what our students have done. And one of our former students was at that conference working there. And so we have students coming out of our program getting jobs in big cities like Las Vegas and LA. So it's been a very cool spot of growth for the planetarium. But we do want to do renovations for the space. We want to get back to being able to teach more astronomy. And so our proposal is to replace our MS8 star projector and the digital projector that has failed with two Zeiss Velvet LED projectors. And can you click on that link, Mr. Cedric? I don't know if I can do that from here. Yeah, if you can open that website. Sorry, I didn't think about that detail.
Yeah, we just have to do the whole thing with,
Well, will it let me do that? If not, it's fine.
I think I can do it. Just give me a second. I gotta stop share and then reshare.
Okay.
If I pass the screen, maybe it's so beneficial.
it's no biggie, I can just start off the slides. There you go. So, we've chosen the Zeiss system because it's one of the tops in the industry. If you scroll down the page a little bit further, you'll see some comparisons. So what we're trying to do is create a really dark night sky created with digital projection. So most planetariums would have a pretty gray screen, and this would be a really black screen. So it would be a very high quality picture, and it would greatly increase our teaching abilities for the planetarium. And so, could you go back to the slides now?
Hopefully.
I'll try not to do that to you again. I had one other time though, so you can prepare mentally for that. All right, so we want to replace the digital projector system. We also want to do some upgrading of lights. Our lighting system is starting to fail. Seating's been is original seating that was already recovered once, and so it's definitely met its match, and some basic touch-ups with carpeting and paint. But the whole project is right around $800,000, and so that's what we're hoping to do. And will let me go next slide. Oh yeah. And so this timeline was created to kind of illustrate what we've been working on. So I'm gonna have to get a little bit closer to you here, but we actually received some state funding back in December of 21. And so we've received $250,000 for this project from the state of Michigan. And so that was something that kind of kicked off and got us refocused on, how can we make this happen? And then we had a committee that formed, did some work on it, and the Sheriff's Institute has always been our biggest supporter since the birth of the planetarium. And they have matched the state's donation with $250,000 committed. So we currently have $500,000 of the $800,000 that we're trying to raise. And the Friends of the Sheriff's Planetarium group is formed from a group of community members that is looking to help us solve this problem as quickly as possible, because we are starting to get to the point where we may be a laser dome soon. It's getting tough to keep the planetary projector working. And so our plan is moving forward to try to work to finish the fundraising for this project through the summer. And so we're hoping, our target is the end of August to try to complete this fundraising. And then we would order the projector for the planetarium. And so that's what we're looking to do. And then after that point, this group will also launch an endowment fund. And we're doing both of these funds in conjunction with the Marquette Education Foundation. And so they will be able to take money that people donate to the planetarium and help us grow that fund for the future of the planetarium, so that hopefully future directors perhaps aren't standing in front of you in quite the same way. We hope that we can naturally build some funds for the planetarium, and when it's time to do an upgrade, 10 to 15 years after that, that we'd have a pocket of funds that we could hold. So that's a brief overview of the project. And then the other thing that is to note is our state funding expires the end of 2024. And so that funding window will come to a close. So we're trying to complete it before that time so that we can keep all the funding preserved. And then this is just a look at the Friends of the Planetarium. I will have you click on that link at the top, but you can see some of the members there. It's just too small to see, but if you guys go out to friendsoftheplanetarium.org, you can see the website that I'm about to show to you here, and you can look at it more fully. And then if you just scroll down the page a little bit, you can see that we have some pictures and some information for you, and then we've created a video that you can watch at a later time. That's posted, again, the website's friendsofthesheriffsplanetarium.org. This further explains the project. It's about 5 minutes long. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see, I'm looking more for that map and that yeah, there we go. You can kind of see the map on the left is one that you can actually zoom into and check out. These are kind of the primary school groups that come to visit us over the years or more recent years. And so you can kind of see the impact that the planetarium has. We do a lot of classrooms from maps, but we also see many classrooms from across the UP and even downstate. And then the right-hand graphic kind of shows you where we're at with things. That our target is $800,000 for this projector goal, and we're about $500,000 into that project. So the link to donate electronically is there on the page, and you can see some more contact information if you scroll down even further. And then if you can go back, I think I only have one or two more slides. All right. It's me, huh? All right, and then just, this is the last piece really that over the next several months, this group is going to be contacting people and looking for donors who would like to join us in this project, people who align with our mission. And we're going to be creating a donor wall. This is a mock-up of that wall, so this would be outside of the planetarium. The background picture is a local photographer, Todd Stevens, so that's a local astrophotography picture that he took from Marquette. And then it'll be overlaid with discs of metal and lucite with names of the donors, $5,000 and above. Those donors will be featured on this donor wall permanently outside the planetarium. So we're looking forward to adding that piece and including a bit of our local talent. We have many local astrophotographers, so looking to incorporate that a bit more. And then that is pretty much all the slides I have for you. And so, but I'm definitely open to answer any questions. I also have some members of our team here as well. And so if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer those.
Real quick before you sit down, how many people would you say attend on average the planetarium?
I mean, we see 55 people, and it's pretty rare for us not to sell out a show now because we do have such limited programming. But we definitely, usually sell out those 55 seats most times. But we see several thousand people a year between public shows and field trip shows, and so that's our normal. I will say sometimes it's a lower depending on how our equipment's running and if we have repairs going on, but that's definitely been our average is several thousand people per year.
What's the closest school with the planetarium?
The closest school to the planetarium?
No, the closest school with a planetarium.
There are no other schools in Upper Michigan with a planetarium. The closest operating planetarium to us is in Appleton, but they actually just lost their digital projection system as well. And they don't have a star projector, so they're just showing movies at this point. U of M has a decent planetarium. There are a couple smaller planetariums in the Lower Peninsula, but most of them are run with mostly homemade equipment or redone equipment. When we complete this renovation, we'll be the leading planetarium in the Midwest region.
Who runs the programs for the community? Is that also you?
It is also me, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The programs that we run for the community, we run really as an addition to our job. And so right now, there is no component for that within MAP structure. But we pay ourselves with income from shows. And so that's how we keep the planetarium open is by utilizing funds. The funds that are made in the planetarium stay in the planetarium. And so we're able to utilize those funds to offer as much public programming as possible in addition to the field trips and things we do during the day.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeBrecq. And next up, I'd like to invite Mrs. Linda Winslow to the podium, or
Or you can just run the room here.
than me, all right? Come on, you guys.
our friend Nick really likes the microphone and the podium, but you guys do whatever you're comfortable with.
Whatever you want.
Want me to use my I'll use my hockey mom voice. Okay, well, maybe. So, as I was introduced, my name is Linda Winslow. I'm currently the president of the Marquette Area Public Schools Education Foundation, sometimes called MAPS Education Foundation, and sometimes called Education Foundation for Marquette Area Public Schools. So we have sort of a couple name kind of things going up there, but we've been around a pretty long time. I've come to this group before. I don't know that I see anyone who was here before, so I guess that means it was a long time ago, right?
We've aged. We've aged.
So I just want to start by letting you know what our mission is. I had asked, before I read the statement, I had asked Zach if I could come and do what I would call an annual report to the board. I think it's important for everyone in our community to know what's going on, but especially since the mission says the foundation mission is to acquire and distribute financial and other resources to the Marquette Area Public Schools. So that's us, right? That's all of us. But especially our board. for unique programs and activities which supplement and enhance the quality of education and provide students with extended learning opportunities. We got one, okay? We're the place that you send the money to, okay? Click of the button. So before I share a little bit in review of our year from 2022/23, so the last school year. We had 128 students receive $131,060 at local scholarships. Local scholarships is a partnership with the school to provide our students with a venue to receive their scholarships. It's a lot better doing it that way for our students, our parents, our school, and we have quite a partnership going. So those scholarships don't just come from the Ed Foundation. They also come from local clubs. They come from the Community Foundation, and they come from anyone who wants to do what we would call a pass-through account. So a pass-through is where somebody gives us money, we pass it through the foundation and give it back out. So they aren't all funds or scholarship funds held in the foundation. The other thing that we do are grants to our students through our teachers, staff, and students. So that means our students can ask for grants, our teachers can ask for grants, and our staff can ask for grants. So that money sits in funds in the foundation, and people are starting to create grant funds as well as scholarship funds. So the advantage to that is that we touch more students with grant funds in a year than we touch students giving scholarships to. But you have to remember that everything has a benefit, okay? So last year, I thought this was interesting. Our scholarship, or our grant funds have slowly started to grow. So last year there were 19 grants that were funded. Okay, that is a huge number of grants, anywhere from $300 to $2,500. Some are less than the $2,500 limit, and we can't really fund $2,500 times 19 grants. So this year, so far, we've gone through 2 grant cycles now, we've had 30 requests. Okay, that's a huge number, a huge increase. So that means people are starting to know that there's grant money available, and the projects are very unique. There is a newsletter, and on the newsletter now we have a lot of pictures. We even had 4 students from Superior Hills ask for grants last year. They were 3rd graders, they wrote all the stuff up. They did an amazing job with support from their teacher. So if we can get that and keep that growing, that would be a great thing to do. The third thing that we do is we do what are called first to finish accounts or children's savings accounts. Some of you might be familiar with that if you have a 1st grader. We are in our 5th year. That means we have 5 classes who now have first to finish accounts in 2 local banks, Incredible and Range. They're our partners. Each student starts with $50 from the foundation in a savings account and $10 from the bank. So every student has at least $60. We have over 1,000 students in our program. So just think about that. When they graduate, which is a requirement to get the funds, they will have money to leave our school district with to support whatever they choose in post-secondary education. Okay? So I think that's a great program, and we're one of probably less than 200 children's savings accounts in the country. So I think that's amazing. The 4th thing that we do is called the Pendle Wall, Belch Pendle Wall of Excellence event. And we select someone who is a graduate of our school who's been out in the community, supporting nonprofits, supporting philanthropy, supporting whatever it is that they support. And they, like Becky said, those people are in Las Vegas, in California, and Marquette. Okay, so we have some great people that have done things that graduated from our school. It isn't just Marquette, because Marquette used to have 4 schools, right? For those of us old enough to know that, yeah. John D. Pierce, Braverette, Bishop Erica, and then the Martha Senior High School. So they could graduate from any of those. And last year, the people that received the award were Robert Mercier from the class of 1969, and some of you may have seen him out in the community, and Adele Rapport from the class of 1973. So, as Becky said, we are partnering with the Friends of the Shires Institute to support them, and that's all I got. We didn't ask Zach to flip any buttons or anything. So, questions, comments, suggestions? Nothing? I think it's great. Who graduated from school here? Look at that. Look at! That's amazing.
I just don't recall getting $60 when I graduated.
You weren't in the first 5 classes. So the interesting part is every elementary school from first grade to 5th grade this year has a first grade. So I think that's pretty amazing. So we'll give you a 60 when you graduate next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. I sit in on the committee as a non-voting member and can attest to the incredible amount of good that is done through that committee. So thank you for everything you and your group does for MABS. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item C under the superintendent report. Mentioned at our committee of the whole meeting that I'd like for the board to consider a stipend, much like we did last year. It would be for all staff, excluding Mr. Lampman and myself. So that would be you, Ms. LeBrecq, in case you're still with me.
I am, yeah, I hear stipend in my ear.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I can imagine. So it would be $500 prorated by FTE. Anyone basically 0.75 FTE and above would get the full amount, and then prorated accordingly. For anyone less than 0.75 FTE would be applicable to any person that's employed as of this date, if you approve. And it would actually be paid out on the December 29th payroll, just before the new year. And that would be also something we would consider for our long-term subs, those roving subs that are here consistently. And that pretty much sums it up. Again, this is similar to what we've done in the past, so we've got a nice routine for making this happen, and we have budgeted for the stipend, as you likely know, and Mr. Lampman may allude to in his report that's forthcoming. There's no further questions. That's again for your consideration. It is listed again under new business. Okay.
Do you have updates on what the stipend cost the district the last time, and do you anticipate that being a commensurate amount?
Approximately $230,000, and yes, it should be very close to the same amount.
Thank you.
Yep. There are no further questions. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Lampman for the budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Sedgwick. All right, let me get up on my mic here, make sure Nick can hear me.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you don't mind, Mr. Sedgwick, I might just slide this over so I can see the screen as well. So, now to the most riveting section of tonight's meeting, the December 2023 budget amendment. Just to kind of recap where we were this year, when we were planning the budget for 2023-2024, we made a conscious decision to leave intact all of the programming that we had in place. So that would be our summer school program, our roving subs, our health aides, our tutoring, all those items that had previously been funded with our COVID-19 funding. We thought it was important that we keep that intact moving into this first post-COVID funded year. So those were all included in the 23-24 budget. And as Mr. Sedgwick alluded to, we also included a stipend for the staff in that original budget. So looking at the general fund first, the general fund is comprised of several different funds that all roll up into one as a group known as the general fund. That includes general operations, grants, Kaufman, Planetarium, services for Father Marquette, retirement and terminal leave, our contingency fund, our athletics, and other student activity funds. So looking at the general fund, kind of doing a mid-year review, we started by looking at local revenues. We're anticipating an increase in our interest rates, our interest income rather, by about $150,000. Currently, our investment account is making 5.47%. When we're always going to use a conservative approach when we're budgeting our revenues. When we were looking at the 23-24 budget, at that time, we weren't sure what the Fed was going to do with interest rates, and interest rates had since gone up since the original budget was adopted. And actually, the Fed met last week, and they kept interest rates at the same level, so we feel pretty comfortable that moving forward, we're going to continue to see an increase to our investment income. Property taxes are being adjusted based on the August 2023 updates to taxable values made by Marquette County, so we're anticipating about a $91,000 increase to our general fund property taxes. Interdistrict revenue, this is revenue that we receive from Marquette Algerisa. We're anticipating about a $73,000 increase due to our special education reimbursement. Now, Marisa is basing this off of our prior year costs. So for 22-23, we spent a little over $7 million on special education. We were reimbursed about $2.8 million from the state. We utilized about $182,000 worth of services through Marisa, and that results in a net payment from Marisa about $4 million. So we're anticipating an extra $73,000 beyond where we thought we would be originally in our original budget. And by the way, I can ramble on, so feel free to stop me along the way if anybody has any questions. Looking at state revenue, again, we project out for the original budget based off the best guess we have at the time. So our foundation allowance per pupil, we had predicted about $9,600 per pupil. Our actual per pupil allowance came in at $9,608, so an $8 increase over where we estimated per pupil. Our 22A Prop A funding, we're increasing that budgeted amount by about $103,000. Our 22B discretionary funding, we're increasing by $339,000. We actually had a new item that came through this year in our state aid, and that's called 22L. It was for transportation costs. Currently, this is a one-time only payment to the district for $310,500. And this was a payment made by the state in order to achieve one of its 10 goals for increasing funding to education. So we were allocated, and as I said, it's currently a one-time payment of $310,000 to use for transportation costs. So looking at revenue by source for the general fund, again, looking at local revenues, we're anticipating about a $563,000 increase to $14,572,000. State revenues overall, we're looking at about a $1.5 million increase to $30,292,000. Federal revenues, as of this time, we're going to remain unchanged. We're still working through our grant funding. We've had in this post-COVID world, a bit of a delay in when we received notification of our final allocations. And we're also anticipating another grant that Mr. Sedgwick had brought to the board at a previous meeting, the 31AA grant that will be used for school safety funding as well as mental health funding. We anticipate receiving notification of that award sometime in January, hopefully no later than early February. So that's all going to impact our grant plan. So overall, we're looking at a proposed amended budget of $45,801,000 in revenues. And this just gives you kind of a graphical depiction of our funding sources. Our state funding is by and large our largest funding source, followed by local. Federal revenues and other revenues are a pretty insignificant portion of our overall budget. Looking at expenditure changes, we had increases for operations and maintenance for various repairs and supply purchases that weren't anticipated in the original budget. Also, looking at our capital outlay, we had purchased 2 used school buses earlier this year. The board had approved the purchase of a special education school bus. We've been trying to invest in our school bus fleet. We had originally included 4 additional school bus purchases in this year's budget. However, in meeting with the transportation director, we kind of felt like maybe it would be better to spread some of these purchases out. So we're looking at purchasing 2 buses this year that we'll likely bring to the January meeting for approval. And we will save those 2 other purchases for next year. So we're reducing our capital outlay expenditure by the cost of 2 buses. So looking at this, currently our overall expenses in our original budget were $44,401,000. We're looking at increasing that to $44,981,000. So it's a $580,000 increase, a little over 1% from where we were with our original budget.
Mr. Lehman,
Yes.
just quickly, what was the increase in the line item for other financing transactions? 53,480 or 488, about halfway down the page.
On the expenditure side?
Yep. From 33 to 53.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I on the wrong page? It's under other financing.
I was looking in the.
I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, I was on the.
That's
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It's under the adopted.
Yeah, this is.
Sorry.
Sorry, this is in a different format than the one in the packet.
Sorry about that. I wasn't looking at your
that's okay.
presentation at the same time. I was following the numbers on the other format. So.
No, that's okay. Which. Other financing transactions?
Yep.
That is actually on the slide in front of you here on the screen. That 20,000 is that $20,000, I believe, was the cost of the emergency repair at Superior Hills.
Okay.
We had an emergency stormwater repair.
Sure.
That cost $20,000 to fix.
Okay. Thanks.
So again, overall, we're proposing about a 1% increase to our overall general fund expenditures from our original budget. And again, just in this slide, you can see that salaries and benefits is by and large our biggest expense for the district, followed by purchase services and supplies, and then capital outlay and other expenditures. So we ended 22-23 school year with an ending fund balance of $15,645,000. That was audited. So we're proposing revenues of $45,801,000, expenditures of $44,981,000, resulting in net income of $820,000. We're projecting an ending fund balance of $16,465,000. Of that, though, about $9.5 million is unassigned, and the rest of the fund balance is either restricted or committed for other purposes, such as our contingency fund. Moving on to the food service fund. So looking at the food service fund, I've been with the district a little over 2 years, and it's been a roller coaster with the food service fund. I came into a year that was free meals for all students, that was federally funded. And my second year, we went back to a normal year where there weren't free meals that were funded by the federal government other than our standard free and reduced. And now here we are again in beginning of my third year, and we are now in a situation where we have free meals once again, and it's largely funded by the state, but also by the federal government as well. We receive a federal component to our funding. So it hasn't been a cookie cutter year with the lunch fund. Having said that, we adopted a budget with about $1.2 million in revenue. We're now projecting about $1.7 million in revenue because it is free to students. We're seeing more utilization of meals. So that's increasing our reimbursement by the state and federal government. And it's also driving up our costs, which you'll see on the other side, because we are preparing more meals for students.
What was the mechanism for moving the revenue to the local level in 2022, 2023? Because that jumps from 30,000 up to almost $500,000. What was that mechanism?
So in 2021, 2022, that school year, the federal government, as part of its COVID rollout, had free meals for basically a universal meal program for students. So we didn't have that local portion that we were collecting. So we weren't really selling meals to students. It was all we were getting the reimbursement rate by the federal government. And so when we look at last year for 22-23, we went to a normal year where we were now charging students for those meals, other than our free and reduced. So now that we're into this year, the state said, hey, we're going to pick up the tab. We're going to have universal free meals this year. So we're back in a situation where we're no longer charging students for meals. And the state isn't fully picking up the cost of the reimbursement. They're also sharing this cost still with the federal government. So we kind of have this mix of federal and state funding to provide universal meals this year.
That'll represent a net lowering of the obligation for local parents to pay for food.
Correct. Yeah. So right now we're providing universal meals to students at no cost to the students. So we're seeing a reduction in our local revenue. Great question. So looking at our expenditures, we had originally anticipated expenditures in the food service fund of about $1.5 million. We're projecting that up to about $1.8 million, again, largely because the number of meals we're preparing for students, because it is universal. Our kitchens are putting out a lot more meals than they would in a normal year. So overall, we're looking at about a $283,000 increase, largely related to increases to the food supply costs. So looking at the fund balance for the food service fund, we began the year with a fund balance of $717,000. We're anticipating revenues of 1.7 million, expenditures of 1.8 million, resulting in a net loss of 87,000 and an ending fund balance of 630,000. And really, we want to target a fund balance of really the $400,000 range in the food service fund. So we've been investing money back into the program. As the board may recall, we have invested in a kettle, steamer, cooker for the kitchen. We're also in a future meeting going to bring some other proposals to the board as well on ways we can reinvest back into the program. Okay, next up we have the debt retirement fund, the capital projects fund, the sinking fund. The debt fund, not a whole lot going on here. All it really does is collect taxes to pay on the 2016 bond that's out there. So it's really an in and out. Revenue comes in, we make the bond payment. So this is just an amendment to tweak the anticipated tax revenue coming in based off the updated August 2023 taxable values. So looking at the debt fund balance, we began the year with $203,000 in fund balance. We had revenues of $685,000. We're anticipating expenditures of $649,000, which is basically our bond payment. So a net income of $35,000, ending in a fund balance of $238,000. Capital Projects Fund, currently we're not proposing any changes to what we adopted with the original budget. We currently had $100,000 budgeted in there for camera expenditures. And we've been transferring over about $150,000 a year for our one-to-one computer initiative. We've continued with that. However, luckily, we have had grant funding to cover those costs the last couple of years. So again, no changes to what we had proposed for capital projects. We're still anticipating an ending fund balance of $4,375,000. Sinking fund. The sinking fund, we really didn't tweak sinking fund too much. We felt pretty comfortable with where we were on our sinking fund revenue, so just a slight tweak there. Expenditures to the sinking fund, we're dropping it slightly by about $13,000 in expenditures, and that's just based off projects that we were able to complete in the fall of the year. We're going to revisit the sinking fund as we get closer to the school year end, and we start ramping up with the projects that we're going to do for summer. Just to recap, we do have some projects we completed this year. We did the steps at the central admin office. We did the entryways at Graverette. We've had the elevator project, as you're all aware, at Graverette. Hopefully that will be wrapped up very soon. And hopefully before the end of the school year, we'll also have the HVAC unit at Bothwell in place. So a lot of big projects we're hoping to wrap up by the end of this fiscal year. So looking at the fund balance for the sinking fund, we began the year with $1.2 million. And again, slight adjustments to the fund. We're looking at an ending balance of $1,081,000. And that is all I had. So if there are any questions, I'm open to entertaining them.
Just real quick, we talk about ending fund balance. Put that in terms of what would a family call it, ending fund balance? Money in the bank, is it theoretical? Is it?
Money in the bank, in a way, a fund balance doesn't necessarily represent cash. Cash is a component that goes into fund balance. But fund balance is basically the difference between your assets and your liabilities results in your ending fund balance. So if you have a positive fund balance, you're doing good, because it means you have more assets on the books than liabilities. If that makes sense?
Anything further? Thank you. Mr. Sedgwick, any other?
Yeah, if I may, just a quick reference. I've been keeping the board updated on just our overall staffing plan and where we're seeing some shortages. And I know we've discussed custodial shortages being one point of interest, particularly in light of facility rentals, which I know some folks are here this evening in regards to that topic. I know the board knows, but I want the audience to know I am actively working on that topic, have had conversations with some members of the community, certainly would offer the same to anyone who's interested. Although it's a little early for me to make any public commitment, I am optimistic with some of the progress I've made and hopeful that we are able to pivot on some of those decisions that have been made. So I can't say much because it's far more complex than I can necessarily say in the meeting here, but am actively working on the topic and hope that we're able to turn a corner, and appreciate the board's consideration of certain recruitment retention efforts such as the stipend to really show our gratitude to our staff. Thank you.
Are there any policies that are getting in your way? Are there any, matters that we could discuss on policy?
The biggest thing that's getting in my way, policy isn't the right word, but we have to make sure we work through collective bargaining agreements, and we'll call them policies that govern how those function. But the biggest obstacle, to be, I guess, short, is winter. We now have many indoor events, concerts, athletic events, etc., and snow removal and all the extra cleaning that comes with winter. And that's regardless of whether there's outside groups coming in. That's just to keep our daily program going, which we've already modified to adjust for the staffing shortages that I've mentioned.
This is throughout all the schools, correct? That custodial shortage?
Not necessarily, no. It's most impactful in our high school, since we have, I believe, 7 postings and only currently 4 filled.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to approving the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the regular board meeting of November 27th, 2023, minutes of the special board meeting of December 12th, 2023, personnel report dated December 2023, financial reports of November 2023. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda of the dates listed.
Support.
Motion made by Mrs. Klipp, support by Mr. Hewitt. Any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Board committee reports. Committee of the Whole meeting of December 4th, 2023. At that meeting, we discussed the rebranding process, and I think we had some good conversation, and we're moving forward with it going to the advisories. There was one small clarification. Originally, we had thought that there was 44 advisory classes, but there's actually 35. So each of the 35 advisories will get 10 names each instead of 8. And I believe that we'll be working on that tomorrow. Is that correct, Mr. Sedgwick?
Correct. I was trying to give you a thumbs up, but I couldn't
Okay.
quite.
So the advisories at the high school will be getting those tomorrow, and then we will start discussing them again in January after our holiday break. Student School Board Representatives report.
So not much has changed since our last meeting, but over the last week we've been working on our door decorating competition in order to make the school more festive, and then we're just preparing for our winter or our holiday assembly, which will be on Wednesday.
Thank you. Moving on to comments from the public, agenda items only. I believe that all the slips I have are for later. So we'll move on to new business. Consider the adoption of the completed year-end evaluation for the superintendent. Mr. Hewitt, do you have anything to add?
No, I guess just for the sake of the public, I mean, we do this every year for our superintendent, and we meet in closed session to be able to discuss as a board. There's a tool that's provided by the state of Michigan that every superintendent goes through and has a series of metrics that they have to provide evidence for, and you know why we feel that they would earn a certain ranking from 1 to 4 in each of the categories. And then it comes to each one of those categories are then weighted, and then comes down to a final score of either highly effective, effective, not effective. And this year, pleased to announce that Mr. Sedgwick was rated highly effective, and yeah, we're overall happy that for that outcome. So.
Okay. Any further comments regarding the superintendent evaluation? Then I would entertain a motion to adopt the completed year-end evaluation for the superintendent.
I'll make the motion to adopt it.
I would support.
Made by Mr. Hewitt, support by Mr. Zedudnik. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consider stipend as recommended by the superintendent. Do we have any further discussion regarding the stipend that was discussed earlier? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to consider the stipend as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of this stipend by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Ray, support by Mrs. Klipp. And I believe we would have an abstention.
Yeah, I'll be abstaining for conflict of interest.
Okay. So if any further comments, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. So motion passes. Consider adoption of the amendment to the 2023-2024 budget.
I would move to adopt the amendment to the 2023-2024 budget.
Support.
All right, motion made by Mr. Sarka, support by Mr. Hewitt. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to comments from the public general. Rob Sped.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Sedgwick, for letting us know that you are working on it. We do appreciate that. I am going to read what I have since I did take the week to prepare it. When I heard the possibility that the Wildcat Aquatics Club swim team may lose access to the MSHS pool at the end of this year, I was shocked. I reached out to some of those who I attended MSHS with in the mid-90s with one inquiry. How many UP champions were members of club swimming? Was club swimming truly necessary? The results I got, Scott Norton from 97, said the Watercats were absolutely vital for me. As I started late and began swimming competitively as a sophomore, it was swim class with Mr. Carr freshman year that motivated me to swim more. Watercats, which is now the Wildcat Aquatics Club, gave me months prior to the high school season to start to build fitness, improve my stroke, learn starts and turns, etc. He is a UP champion. Ryan Hetrick, 97. I started as a Watercat as a 5-year-old and retired after 18 or 19 years with them. I have a scrapbook filled with ribbons and newspaper articles. Aside from the records and championships, I learned teamwork, hard work, perseverance, and made lifelong friendships swimming as a Watercat. He is also a UP champion. Jenna Silkworth, formerly Jenna Barasco. I was a UP champion and a YMCA state competitor for more years than I can count through the Watercat program. I joined Watercats in 1985 when I was 4.5 years old. It provided the training to develop excellence in the sport during the years before high school. It also had a longer season than high school did, providing months of training before and after the high school season, giving Watercat swimmers a chance to be at their best once the high school season began. It provided deep friendships across significant age groups. Being as young as I was when I joined, it was an awesome experience looking up to the older athletes. I participated in Watercats for 13 years, long enough to have gone from the bottom rung to the top. There is no way I would have succeeded as powerfully in high school if I did not have the years of training under my belt as a youth. It is very disheartening to hear this may no longer be available to the youth of Marquette. Jenna is also a UP champion. Tom Pekorski. Which of the UP champions were Watercats or the subsequent teams that grew out from the Watercats? Pretty much all of them. Football has Pop Warner, hockey has their feeder system. Watercats and the Wildcat Aquatics Club was the reason high school championships hang in the pool. Period. Full stop. Now the words of former graduates are great, but what do the numbers actually show? Like Mr. Lampman, I like numbers. So I retrieved the list of UP individual champions from the Michigan High School Athletics Association website on December 10th. With the help of several former directors of the Watercats, Wildcat Aquatics Clubs, and some volunteers, we poured through the results dating back to 1980 with the following results. There are 1,609 individual UP championship titles held from 1980 to 2023. Of those, 663 record holders were members of club swimming in Marquette County. There are currently 669 MSHS record holders. 576 of them, 86%, were former club swim members. MSHS team records from former club swimmers. The board that hangs in the pool there, all names except for 3 of them are former club swimmers. MSHS team champions, 27 years for the girls, 30 years for the boys. Runners-up, 12 for the girls and 8 for the boys. Only 5 seasons for the girls and 6 seasons for the boys was there not a win or a runner-up. In addition to all these past records, I'd kind of like to bring us back to the present. Of all the current high school swim team members, every single swimmer who has been a member of club swimming has already qualified for UPs this year. We're only a month into the season. The season doesn't end until February. So we're doing really well already. I'll leave you with one final thought. One of our swimmers, Grace Sobchik, has been swimming with the team for the past 12 years and will be a senior this year. She has qualified for states each year for the past 10 years and will be swimming in college. It would be a shame if she were not able to continue swimming in her final year of high school. Thank you.
Allison Wallace.
I'm Allison Wallace, 856 Lakewood Lane. I didn't have a fancy preparation speech. I swam to the high school from 99 to 03. It's upsetting that this can't be the same for my kids. I don't like a bunch of people. But anyhow, I don't understand the logic of why this can't continue. I mean, they pay their dues to rent the pool, which is revenue coming into the school. If it's a janitorial issue, I think you have a whole group of parents that is more than willing to help out, like after meets, during anything. Like, I think it's all parent involvement that we can make things happen for our kids. This is like the first sport my kid actually participates in. And it's refreshing because we've tried the baseball, we've tried the soccer, we've tried basketball. Everything is just a challenge. And this is our first season. For me as a swimmer, it's fantastic. I love that we came back to the high school. I swam there for like 4 years. I was a lifeguard for the school. Like, I love this. So the fact that my oldest kid wants to do it and enjoys it, it's refreshing. So I hope you guys really think about repealing this decision, because I think it's really important for all the kids. When they cancel meets, like I heard from friends, because we just started this fall with my kids, they cancel a meet. That's gotta be a loss of income to the community. Hotels, food, anything like that. And I guess I just don't understand why it's a loss in money. When, if you asked, I'm sure parents would say, I'll stay and sweep the floor when we're done. I'll pick up some garbage. I have no problem doing that. Even if my kid didn't participate in the meet, I would still show up and go sweep that floor, because that's what you do when you're a team, and that's what swimming teaches you. So, that's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you. Sarah Jonda? Yanda, sorry.
That's okay.
My volunteers. Hello. Again, my name is Sarah Yanda. This is my daughter, Dorothy. She's a 6th grader at Bothwell Middle School. Next to her is Cecilia, and she's a 2nd grader at Sandy Knoll. Together, they have 5 years of experience with the Wildcats Aquatic Club. Dorothy starting in 2020, and Cecilia starting in 2021. I'm going to pivot these guys over here so you can see this picture that I blew up in size. I'm sorry, I kind of lost some of its effect, but this is a picture from what was a non-competitive, fun event hosted at the high school last week called the Reindeer Games, which the swimmers signed up and participated in different individual and relay swimming events, and they had a great time. The benefits of swim are many, and they include the reinforcement of water safety, which, as we know, as parents growing up along Lake Superior, is especially important. It builds muscular and cardiovascular health. It improves sleep. They sleep like rocks when they're done swimming. And it increases energy, but it also helps reduce stress and anxiety. As in any team sport, be it football, tennis, or swim, they are said to bolster confidence, competence, connections, character, and our caring for each other. As the facts were presented to the parents of the Wildcats Aquatic Club, the high school athletics had a $420,000 shortfall in their budget, and as a means of reducing that deficit, the Wildcats Aquatic Club, a relationship with the Marquette High School's pool, was eliminated. And I'm really thankful and hopeful to hear the recent discussions with Superintendent Sedgwick and to hear that the conversation may be pivoting. My purpose for speaking tonight is with respect to the budget and to encourage you to reinstate your partnership with NMU and to continue to serve as a training venue for the present group of swimmers here tonight and the passionate group of parents and all the people that are present in this room. We know that Wildcat aquatic swimmers often go on to be future Marquette High School swimmers and divers, as demonstrated by the lengthy years of awards and accolades on the high school pool wall. Surely a compromise or an agreement can be had so this amazing group of kids, instructors, and families and volunteers doesn't go away. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Doug Garrison? Nope. Crystal Kessel? Kiso. Okay, sorry.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Crystal Kiso, formerly Ingeson, class of 99 here. I'm speaking on behalf of a few different people. First, my son, who is a middle schooler here. And I hope I also don't get too emotional because I echo what the other parents have already said. My son has tried many sports and he's never really stuck with one. Mental health with COVID is a big deal, and swimming is a passion for him, and we have seen a change with his confidence and him being able to socialize with the other kids, and I clearly don't want that to go away or be reduced. So I think that there are all these benefits to swimming, but another issue that we're having is the high school pool provides things that other pools don't provide. So that is why it is extremely important for us to be able to use the high school pool. We could try to talk to Northern about using their pool, but the depth in their lanes doesn't allow the swimmers to use the blocks for training off the blocks. They can't do that. Where the high school pool, they have that access to do that. We've tried to reach out to other pools in the area, and so far they haven't been able to accommodate us. So we really need the high school here. We need this partnership. I also am speaking on behalf of a current student athlete at NMU. I'm a faculty member at NMU. So if, with your permission, I'd like to read this letter that she wrote and asked me to share. Okay, so I am reading this letter on behalf of Erin Vanderscaff, MSHS class of 2021. Greetings, I regret that I can't attend tonight's meeting to express my opinion in person due to a work conflict. I appreciate your willingness to listen to my thoughts. I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the decision to stop providing pool time to our community youth club swim team. As a proud alumnus of both the club and high school swim teams, I have experienced firsthand the invaluable impact that the club team can have on the lives of young athletes in our community. I implore you to reconsider any decision that would jeopardize the existence of this vital program. I spent 11 formative years as a member of the club swim team. The camaraderie, quality coaching, and positive environment fostered fostered by the club team not only made my journey enjoyable, but also equipped me with the skills necessary to pursue collegiate swimming at a Division II school. The lessons I learned and friendships I forged on the club laid the foundation for my success both in and out of the pool. Club swimming offers a number of benefits not provided by the high school team. Obviously, training begins at an early age and can occur year-round. It also offers a wider variety of events against typical better competition. These benefits are all crucial to the development of competitive swimmers. In addition to the impact the club swim team has on the social and athletic development of its members, it also promotes personal development and giving back to the community. Team members volunteer at numerous events such as the International Food Fest and Ore to Shore, and have done beach and park cleanup events. The team has also adopted the Teal Lake Swim as an optional team event, and club team members typically make up the largest group of participants in this local fundraiser for diabetes education. The potential closure of the club team due to a lack of pool time would not only be a disservice to current and future athletes, but would also deprive our community of a program that has consistently produced individuals who excel not only in athletics but also in life. I urge you to consider the broader implications of the decisions affecting the club team, not only in terms of individual athletic pursuits, but also in the context of the positive contribution our athletes make to the well-being of our community. Thank you for your time and consideration. I believe that by working together, we can find a solution. Oh, thank you. So sorry about that. I've been sick recently, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to gifts and bequests. Donation from the Kaufman Foundation of $5,000 for Coats for Kids program. Moving on to board member comments. We'll start with Mr. Zadunek.
No additional comments.
Mrs. Maddox-Smith.
I just want to say what a wonderful community that we have. Just everybody coming up here to speak tonight. It's just, it's a lot, and I know how much it means to you guys, and we're glad you took the time to come in and talk to us. The letters and emails, I wanted to let you know we got a great email with a great picture from a little boy, and that'll be on my fridge. I think he's going to be a talented artist as well as swimmer. I look forward to Mr. Sedgwick's comments on some solutions, and thank you, Mr. Lampman. That was a lot with the budget. Looks like we're got a lot of big projects going, and that MAPS is positioned well. So thank you for all of that. Thanks to my board members.
Ms. Ray.
Just appreciate everyone coming out. I have 3 children who swim, so and it did make a profound impact on their lives and who they are, so I can attest to that. But I appreciate you coming out, and I know it's not easy speaking, so you're not alone with that. None of us are comfortable in that situation, so thank you all for being here. And just really appreciate the Kaufmans again for always helping out with the Coats for Kids. I mean, as we can attest today, they're needed, and our community needs people like that step up. So, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Mrs. Klipp.
Echoing what everybody else has said, again, thank you so much. It is difficult to speak in front of people, and you are being heard. I can only speak for myself, but I don't think there's a person on this board that is not deeply interested in what you have to say, and we value you. And of course, thank you to Mr. Lempman, who makes budget work. I don't know if it seems easy, but it's understandable, so I appreciate that. Happy holidays. Just wishes for safe and good holidays for all.
Mr. Hewitt.
I'll just add thanks also to Mrs. Lebrecht and Mrs. Winslow for their contributions to tonight's meeting. So, thanks.
Mr. Sarka.
Thank you. We're so lucky as a community. We look at on a day like today that the Kaufman Foundation is stepping up again. We couldn't look for a better advertisement for how much that's needed in our community, and the fact that the Shiras Foundation supports something that's so unique. When you hear that the other planetarium is the University of Michigan, it really kind of puts things in perspective. the fact that we have a pool to provide for the community. I was in that pool in the 60s. I hate to say that, but it's something, it's an asset that not a lot of school districts have. Again, just speaking for myself, it's not for a lack of support for the program or appreciation for what it means to the community and what it's meant for all the people that have been in that swim program. A lot of times we're kind of, we have a job as a board, and primarily it's setting policy, and unless we're in rare moments when we're looking at suspensions or disciplinary actions. So we're stuck, really looking at, is there a policy change we can make in that situation? And I trust our superintendent to work through those issues, and I think he's trying whatever he can do within the policy. I don't think there's a policy change we really could make. Again, that's my opinion on that. Dorothy and Cecilia, good job. Way to do your job, and hopefully this is something you'll continue throughout your life, showing up at public meetings and, kind of being active. So thank you very much. And again, happy holiday to everybody.
Okay, moving on to board president comments. I would just like to echo the rest of my board. I swam for the Watercats back in the day. I swam for the high school, and I swam in college. I was the coach for Ishmael Nagani for 13 years and coached 1 year at Marquette. So I understand how valuable swimming is to the community, and we understand that. We will continue to work with the powers that be and try to help with the custodial issue, which is the issue that is most weighing on us right now. So we will be continuing to work on that. And I guess just happy holidays. And I would entertain, moving on to announcements and other meetings. December 21st, no school for students, and that's a PD day. December 22nd through January 2nd, winter break, no school. January 8th, 2024, board organizational and special meeting here in the library at 5:30. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hewitt, support by Mrs. Klipp. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, happy holidays.